It's a monarch.
It looks like it.
Hey everyone, Kathy the Vegan Prepper here, and welcome to a day in my life. Nature being like a walking spring stereotype over here. Vegan prepper. Vegan prepper. Okay, so today on the docket, primarily I am going to finish dealing with the grapes that are still in my fridge. Just get those washed and picked off of the stems and then mostly frozen, which also might mean that I need to clear space in my freezer. I don't know, but I'm going to be focusing mainly on that job today and just sort of like put something on the computer, watch something and get that done. We were kind of supposed to do that as a family last night. We were going to put a movie on and have everybody with some grapes, just like picking off stems. But that didn't work out because we were working in the yard yesterday quite a lot and pretty late. So we just ended up not doing that last night. Sorry, that little face was because I just did a yawn. I had to pause it for a second. And then hopefully I can get some edamame in the ground. So that's like all that's on my list for today. I'm really wanting to clear that space out of my fridge. I want my fridge space back, but also because I want to go get some cauliflower. So I want to get more cauliflower. My wholesale produce place has organic cauliflower again, 12 heads for $14. And I just have to get that. I have to get at least one or two of those. Maybe I will actually freeze some of it this time. And also I'm thinking about trying to ferment some of it. I just was at Whole Foods this weekend to get produce, and I mean, as weird as it may sound, Whole Foods is actually, typically in my experience, it has been the budget choice for organic produce. Not as budget as my wholesale place, so my wholesale place doesn't always have organic. But it's, the cauliflower used to be like $3.99 each, and as of this weekend, I guess now, officially, it is $5 each, and I was just going to get one, but knowing that I can get 12 of them for $14, I just could not spend $5 on a single cauliflower. I just couldn't. So yeah, it's like lit a fire under me. I've got to get my fridge space back so that I can start pulling some more produce in. But anyway, I did mention I did some work yesterday in the yard. So last night I filmed like just a super fast little garden tour, and I was intending to include it as a show and tell section of the couple chat because we were going to film a couple chat last night too. See, I put too many things on my list and I don't get them done. But we did not film a couple chat, and I'm not going to save it just because I don't know when we're going to film a couple chat again. So I'm going to go ahead and put it here. So I'm going to say in there that I'm filming this to show you, not just to tell you for the couple chat, but it is obviously for the day in the life. So I'm just going to include that footage of our little garden tour and sort of talking about some of where our focus has been and where we are. I feel really good actually about where we are going into the summer, and every year it gets a little better, and it feels like it's still quite a lot of work, but every year it feels like we're doing better because we're learning more. But anyway, I just wanted to include that here. But I'm also now just going to go ahead and go get started on those grapes, and hopefully we'll be able to pull, completely finish it, and then I'll be able to get some cauliflower because I just can't stop myself. Okay, so we'll show and not just tell you kind of what's going on in the yard. I've worked for years on establishing perennials, and it's very exciting to be moving into the summer months with some perennials already established. I garden in central Arizona, and we have several things that actually will last. Not only will they last through our summer, but if you keep watering them, they will last through the winter, even though they're not producing, and then they'll begin to produce again in the following year. Although I don't know for my peppers, my bell peppers didn't, but my jalapenos, they never stop producing, ever. They're crazy. So anyway, let's go ahead and look at a few of the perennial things I have established in the yard. So first off, we have some really prolific grapes this year. I'm not going to show all of them, but there are so many grapes, but unfortunately we're also getting a bit of powdery mildew setting in. So I am definitely going to have to figure out how to deal with that. And I'm super disappointed. Like, we're finally getting huge numbers of grapes, like just huge, like all back here and then all along the front too. But yeah, we have that blasted powdery mildew coming in, so I have to figure that out. But anyway, chives are perennial in my yard. I need to pull these and dehydrate them because I already have tons of chives established. These I did not expect to get as prolific as they were. I don't know why not. But the super exciting thing is my mint is also now officially a perennial. It is going into its second year. My catnip too is insane. I have an amazing patch of catnip. I've been harvesting and dehydrating catnip and mint quite a lot. And I'm very excited about those. My rosemary plants are my little sentinels. They protect my bed from excess heat and help water retention. And then like there was a broken hose. So this is not normal. I'm very conscientious about our water usage, just in case anybody's wondering. This is definitely not normal to have puddles out here. But Adam has already fixed it and it's doing well. So we've got planted several new pepper plants, which I hope will go perennial, like my magnificent jalapeno plants over there, which need to get harvested and they need to get trimmed pretty fast. My eggplants are also, they've gone perennial. These are going into their second year and they are already completely full of eggplants to harvest. This is the Japanese style. And my walking onions I have established, very exciting, from the from bulbs that I took with permission from my father-in-law's wife's garden up in Prescott, Arizona. So I planted them, I think, gosh, at some point last year, and they came up, and I'm excited to see another one right here and another one right here. So green onions, these are not green onions, they're walking onions, but they kind of will end up working the same way. These are green onions just from the grocery store. They're in their third year. I'm about to pull these out because they're, I need that space for other things. And especially now that I have these guys established, I don't really need to be doing green onions from the grocery store anymore. So I'm excited to have my own kind of infinitely plantable little plant. And I'm just very, very excited about that. So they're already kind of doing their walking thing. Although I haven't seen more bulbs come out, but apparently those don't come out until about the second year. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to walk through this puddle. So here's my magnificent dinosaur kale I'm still harvesting off of, even though it is bolting. This is one plant. That's it, just one. There's the base. So these are biennials. They last 2 years. And then this one has lasted 2 years in my yard. It's the first one I've ever gotten to go for a full 2 years. And so it's gotten this big. It's amazing. It's given us so many greens, just this one plant. And that's the thing I love the most about this particular kind of kale, is that it grows as a tower and it leaves room for other things. And then eventually it just starts branching everywhere. So you get almost like 7 kale plants off of just one. And so this guy is going to seed, and I am collecting every single seed that I can. Every single kale I plant from now on will be from this plant, which is, again, my first one I got to go fully biennial. And I'm really hoping that subsequent kales will do the same thing. I'm so excited about that. And over here, I've got accidentally, I did compost in place with a bunch of peach pits from my friend's farm. And so they have tons, they have a very small farm, but they have tons of fruit trees, and she let me come pick, and I did compost in place, like I said, and I've gotten like 6 little peach trees over there now. So I don't know if they'll produce. I don't know, what will happen, but we are going to attempt to grow some peaches, and I know that they might not fruit, but I don't care. We're going to give it a shot. I'm very excited that they they grew. So that's just kind of awesome. So here's some more pepper plants. Again, I'm hoping that they will go perennial, like my gorgeous and amazing jalapenos, my superstars. Hello. They were the first ones that made me realize it was possible. And so here is my biggest, most giant, most gorgeous lettuce, which I have let go to seed. And so that will be my lettuces all next year. My gorgeous, amazing, actually that one was a volunteer. This one's also a volunteer. beautiful kale plant. I've been getting my greens from that. More pepper plants now that I know that they can go perennial. These are my bell peppers from last year, which were also, they went perennial. I'm super excited. And I even have my first fruits already right here coming through. And so they're a little worse for wear looking, or they're a little the worse for wear. They went through winter and like lost all their leaves, and I wasn't sure that they would come back, but they've got all this beautiful new growth and they are coming back. So yay. But yeah, that's kind of where we are in the yard for now. And like I said, next is probably going to be edamame, and then Jamaican sorrel and some peach trees and various other things. But isn't it just gorgeous? I love the light at this time of day, and I'm excited all these little empty spaces are soon to be filled. So anyway, yay! Hashtag food security, woohoo! Okay, so first off, we're starting with a vinegar wash of the grapes, since it's basically just water with some apple cider vinegar, and I let them soak for just a minute or two. And then this is to kill any mold spores or whatever that may be on the grapes. This is actually something my grandmother taught me for keeping produce good for a really long time. This even works with like raspberries and strawberries, but with the more tender berries, you don't want to really let them soak at all. It's more of a quick dip. But then you put them into a container with you put them in a container and then lay a paper towel or a cloth on top, and then close it, turn the container upside down so that all the excess moisture drips onto the cloth. And then you periodically change that, and you can make even raspberries last for like 2 weeks in your fridge if you do it like this. But again, don't soak them because they're too tender. The acid in the vinegar will start to actually eat away at the skin. But for tougher skinned things like blueberries or grapes, you can actually give them a little bit of a soak. But anyway, that's what I'm doing right now. And then they're going into a bowl, and I'm going to pick all the grapes off of the stems to get them ready for freezing. All right, so I'm going to be dealing with these at my desk. I've got my smaller bowl. This is my big one. This is my huge one. Like, I could have bathed Sage in it as a baby. But anyway, it's full, and I'm going to get to picking these off. And I'm still trying to decide if I'm going to turn any of it into juice or not. For now, I think most of it's going to get frozen. Yeah, you did it. Good job. So do you want to tell everyone what we just saw in the window? Sure. Do you want to say it?
Yeah.
Okay. Say, there's a new
Spider.
A new spider, yes, because we had our old spider friend, a giant, gorgeous orb weaver, built this huge web in our window, and then throughout the day, if we were sitting here, we would see the spider come down, and Sage would say, "Oh, it's a spider friend." And so anyway, we just saw a brand new little one. I still recognize it. It was an orb weaver. And so I wonder if we're going to end up with a new spider friend. Don't peck at my sports. Okay, here's where if I were a super responsible YouTuber, I'd be setting up shots and getting shots of me dealing with these grapes. But the truth is, I am just sort of just not into it today. Like, I'm filming a day in the life video and I don't feel like it. That's not true. I do feel like filming the day in the life video, but I don't feel like getting dressed. I'd like to just sort of do this job in my PJs and just sort of hang out and just be comfortable while I'm doing all of this. So if you desperately need to see footage of picking grapes off of stems, then I can try to get it another time, because they do still have organic green seedless grapes, $8. And so I might end up with some more grapes. But anyway, other than that, please forgive me for not filming this process. I just feel like being comfy. All right. Okay, so I've got about a half hour in. So I think that is a very respectable amount of work for that. Sage is saying that she wants some stuff, so I'm gonna go make her some things. But yeah, this doesn't take nearly as long as I think it will. This is something I have to tell myself over and over. It's difficult for me sometimes to get started because I don't know how long the job is going to take. So like I said, this has not been very long at all, so I'm easily going to get through these today. And yeah, she's hanging out with me, and I'm watching some YouTube and just enjoying myself. Actually, it feels like a really wonderful little break. I don't normally get to just like sit and watch stuff, so this is a good reminder for me as well that it can feel almost like a treat, even though I'm getting work done, because I'm getting to just like sit and watch stuff. So it's pretty great. Batch number 2. I am so bored right now.
Me too.
Poor Sage. She's not having the most thrilling day either, honestly. Oh my gosh. I can't believe how long this is taking. I still wanted to offer, so this is the last of it. I'm almost done. I am in the home stretch. I'm almost finished. I just wanted to say like a quick logistical thing I forgot to mention before, and I think these are the kinds of things that I always wish other people would talk about, is just to have a little container for your rejects. If you come across grapes or anything that has like a moldy spot or whatever, that's kind of like my reject container. And so I'm able to toss that in there and separate the good ones from the bad ones easily. And yeah, like I said, in the home stretch, almost done. I can do it. We're gonna get through this. We're gonna make it. It's gonna be okay. Yay, we are all finished. Woo! And so now I have already had my next chunk of my day spoken for. Sage is requesting that we paint her nails, and I'm going to oblige her because she is very bored. Are you bored, Sage?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now I have 2 bowls of grapes in my fridge, 2 great big bowls. And I'm still trying to decide exactly what I am doing with each of these. If they're going to be frozen or made into juice, I'm not sure. And also now I've got some dates soaking and some hemp seeds soaking. You don't have to technically soak hemp seeds before you make a milk, but I still like to let them sit in water for a little while before I blend it. I'm just making a very small batch of hemp seed milk and some dates because we're going to make a little bit of avocado pudding, mainly as a snack for Sage, but I'm having some too because hello, it's super yummy. And yeah, please forgive the state of my kitchen. I've been spending every spare moment today doing those grapes. And here is the avocado pudding. And honestly, I feel like I make a really good avocado pudding. I probably should have filmed the process. I'll make a separate video. But this is not something I make too often. In fact, I think it's been probably about a year since I've made my last avocado pudding. It was just all of a sudden it occurred to me like, wait a second, that's a raw thing that I could make that I don't have to stick into the dehydrator if I want like a sweet treat. So this is what I have. And if you make it with, say, a coconut sugar or like even maple syrup or something, rather than sweetening it with dates or fruit, then you will have something like you can end up with a texture that's basically exactly like Ready Whip or like those little pudding cups that you get in the store. And it's really delicious. This definitely isn't like perfectly smooth like that, again, because of the, mainly because of the dates, but it is still insanely good. So yeah, Sage is really enjoying it, and I'm sneaking a bite here and there as well. It's the next day, and this book came in yesterday. Super exciting. I haven't had a chance to sit down and look through it yet, so I am giving myself exactly 1/2 hour to just look through this book before I get into the day today, which is going to be taking care of this huge bag of onions I have growing on my floor in my kitchen. They're sprouting all over the place. I've got to get them taken care of. I'm not planning on doing like watching YouTube videos while I'm doing that because I'm going to be employing my food processor to take care of huge piles of onions. And then that is going to be a combination of dehydration and freezing. So that's handy. Freezing onions is handy because you can do it just completely raw. You don't have to do any blanching or anything in order to do that. And then dehydration is the same way, apparently. I may experiment with some blanching just because I haven't ever done it before. And I got myself a steamer, or not steamer, like a, like one of those pasta draining inserts. I'll show you on the counter in a second, from Goodwill. Last time I was at a Goodwill, I found one of those, and it doesn't fit perfectly in my pot, but it fits good enough. And I had seen Rose Red Homestead, and I cannot remember her name. I apologize for not remembering her name. I love that channel, but she was blanching stuff and she was using one of those, and I went, oh, I need that for my kitchen. And then the next time I was at Goodwill, lo and behold, there it was. So I got it for like $1. It was half off as well. And so it, like I said, it doesn't fit perfectly in my pot, but it works really well. And so I'm going to use that potentially to blanch some onions for the very first time, doing some blanching before I do like processing and stuff. So we'll see. But like I said, first, I'm going to let myself sit and look through this book. So anyway, that's it. Okay, so I've got to make some more room in my freezer. And so I sort of went through and I zeroed in on this bag of carrots, which I always intended to dehydrate. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and get those onto dehydrator trays, and hopefully they dehydrate by the end of the day. So they're already frozen, they're already blanched and basically ready to go. This is just a bag of carrots I got from Azure Standard, and my intention was to dehydrate the whole bag, and I just haven't done it yet, so I'm going to do that. And yeah, I'm going to measure probably 4 cups per tray, and then once they're out of the dehydrator, I'll measure again to see consistently like how big are these once they're dehydrated, and then I'll add that to my dehydrated, or my dehydration data gathering sheet. All right, so yes, 4 cups pretty much covers the tray. And I remember that, I think, from the last time I did these. So I have all of these random, does anybody else do that? Like, not everything is written down, but I have a whole bunch of random figures and knowledge in my head that just like come forth when I need it. But if you ask me, like outside of this context, how many diced carrots fits in a tray, I might not be able to answer you. I don't know. It's a weird thing in my brain. I just wonder if anybody else is like that. So anyway, regardless, I'm going to go ahead and fill these trays, or not all of them. I don't believe. I'm probably going to get like 3 or 4 trays. And then I'll just go ahead and get those started. Okay, so I did get a total of 4 plus a little extra. So that's going to be like a little over 16 cups of carrots, and we'll see what that dehydrates down into. Yeah, that was it. That's all I got out of that whole bag. And now I'm trying to figure out like where the blame lies. Not that I need to absolve myself or whatever. This is every time something like this happens in my life, my brain is always working on the solution, right? Growth mindset, solution. So I can't change the fact that basically that entire bag rotted. But now I'm attempting to figure out, I guess maybe blame is the wrong word, the cause or the origination of the issue. So like, was it me? Did I not get to it fast enough? Which is possibly partly true. It's much later than I intended to start on those onions. However, this is not the first time I've purchased a 50-pound bag of onions, although last time I did do it accidentally. I don't know if any of you guys have been around for the last time. Like, I accidentally got 50 pounds of red onions because it was so cheap. I thought it was a 25-pound bag, and the produce guy did too. But it turned out to be 50. But I got through those. It took me well over a month, well over an entire month. I don't think it's been a month since I purchased these onions. It took me that long to get through all of those red onions and get them preserved. Some of them I pickled, most of them I froze, some of them I turned into caramelized onions and then dehydrated for like the most delicious snacks ever. They were intended for meals. It did not make it to meals. I ate them all. They were so good. But it took me well over, and then I was just eating through them as well, like just in our meals. And it, yeah, like I said, it took well over a month. I would say like maybe even 2 months for me to finish getting through all of those onions. I didn't throw even one of those onions away. Every single one was fine. But this bag is basically the entire, especially in the center, the entire center was just like rotted. It was really gross. Like, you guys can be glad I didn't film it. So thank God most of them had grown like little green onions, and I was able to kind of use those as handles for throwing stuff away. But yeah, it was basically picking, and then anything that looked even remotely viable was like picking up and kind of giving a gentle squeeze. And so yeah, I managed to get that many onions from that bag. So like I said, I'm trying to figure out, was it me not getting to them fast enough so that, because it is obviously true, like, right, had I done it the very day that I purchased them, I probably would have gotten a lot more. But my past experience has taught me onions are not the one I have to go to very fast. You know what I mean? Like, I got the cauliflower done like right away because I understand cauliflower goes bad really fast. Then next was grapes. Onions are not the thing that I normally jump on because, like I said, yeah, past experience has taught me I typically have a month or two on the onions, but these, man. So yeah, I don't know if that was me or the onions, but I guess maybe going forward, I need to at least spread them out, maybe get them out of the bag. I also maybe need to reevaluate how much I purchased at one time. It's very difficult, right? Like, logistically looking at my life and realizing I don't have nearly as much time as I used to do all of these things. So anyway, regardless, it sucks. I didn't want to film it. I wanted to try to pretend that I got through that whole 50-pound bag, but oh well. I'm not going to lie and say that I didn't let all those onions rot on my floor. But yeah, it hasn't ever happened before. So regardless, moving forward, I think I will at least, if I buy another giant bag of onions like that, I'm going to at least get them out of the bag and look at them and make sure that there isn't like a rotting one. Because that's kind of my thought, is that maybe there were a few that were rotting in the center that just sort of spread, because the only viable onions I managed to get were at like the very back of the bag and at the very front of the bag. So probably like the furthest removed from that icky center. So yeah, I guess, yeah, moving forward, that's my new procedure. Spread all those onions out, look, and make sure that none of them are gross, and then somehow figure out how to store them until I can deal with them. So anyway, all right, that's it. I guess I'll get to processing like my 2 onions that I got out of that whole 50-pound bag. It's not going to take very long at all. So there's a quick thing I wanted to show. So if you don't have a lot of large containers for prepping a lot of like large produce, what we often will do is we will just cut something and put it into a pot in the fridge. Like if we don't have a large enough container. So like for instance, my watermelon, I didn't have any large containers or containers large enough for the watermelon I cut the other day. So we just ended up chopping it up and putting it in this pot. And then, sorry, honey, my son is trying to eat it right now. And then I was like, oh yeah, I was going to show you guys this. So yeah, then that just goes into the fridge. And then sometimes we have a larger pot that we'll use, but it all fit in here. He's like, Mom, I'm trying to eat. But yeah, that's just sort of a tip. I really want to get some like large food service containers, like the ones that you, like the really big ones with just the lids that sit on top. Plastic, unfortunately, but I really want to get some of those for chopping and preparing larger amounts of produce, especially now that I'm eating a lot more of this super fresh produce. But yeah, just wanted to share that briefly. Okay, so here is my basic setup for dealing with the onions. And so I'm just getting them cut in half. Some of them are kind of big, so I'm having to quarter them, but I think these are all an okay size. For fitting down into my food processor, just using the slicer on the inside there. the largest slicer I have, which is still pretty thin. And then I'm dumping them into this strainer, this is the thing I was talking about. It doesn't fit perfectly into my pot, but I'm going to end up blanching in here once I have finished filling this about halfway. And then anything that's not like gonna fit beyond that point, because this actually goes up kind of to the top, I will just go ahead and dehydrate that just raw. So anyway, I've also set up a spot out in my Arizona room for the dehydration, because I have heard, and I have never dehydrated onion before, but I have heard that the smell is awful and can take over your whole house. So I'm going to try to listen to the advice that I have heard, and we'll see if it's true, like how bad it gets in the Arizona room. Okay, so all the onions are draining in my big strainer, like that fits over the sink. I got it from IKEA. And now all of the ice water I'm gonna go ahead and dump onto my moringa trees. And then once the blanching water cools, I will dump that onto something else, maybe my elderberry bush, I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and load up my Nesco dehydrator with all of my onions. And I just wanted to show, I mean, I haven't ever done this before, but this is just based off of things I've done previously. I'm gonna put my screen in like this kind of, I don't know, it looks almost like plastic canvas, but it's like the smaller screen mesh for the Nesco dehydrator, but I'm putting that only in the bottom. So all the rest of the trays I will just load up as normal, and then if anything falls through, it will still hit this screen. But I've only got 2 of these screens, and I'm honestly not sure where the second one is right now. But that's, you know, I've done this many times where I just sort of put the screen on the bottom and then everything stays in the dehydrator, even if it does fall through some of the trays. Okay, so I ended up with 5 total trays, which is just wonderful. So they're out here now in our Arizona room drying. I pulled out my herb drying rack. Adam made this for me. He built it from scratch, from like a whole bunch of like reclaimed wood and stuff. He does a lot of work like that, and I just absolutely love it. So if anybody's like, where did you get that? It's a custom thing. You can't buy it, unfortunately. And so he basically made me an herb drying rack, and I did, over the last month or 2, I've been drying jalapenos from the garden. And so it was an experiment to see if I could, and just periodically I come out here and kind of do that, and then put it back, and I do that to all the trays. And it appears that it did very well, and I didn't end up with any mold or anything like that. So that's exciting to know that I can do that, and just sort of dry just with the air. We do have a very hot, dry climate. So with things like drying our clothes in summer, like line drying and things like that, you know, I try to take advantage of that as much as possible. But yeah, he made this for me for some occasion. It was anniversary or Valentine's Day or something. So I really love it. And now it's going to have a dual purpose of drying the herbs by just the air, of course, But also I'm going to start having a dehydrator out here, like as we're getting into the hot months, so that I'm not heating up the house too much. And this room is a lot warmer because we have a door that leads into our house and then a door that leads outside. So this becomes our temperature buffer. We do have another direct way into the backyard, but we don't use that hardly ever, but especially not in the summer months, to avoid that influx of superheated hot air. And so, yeah, we are definitely gearing up, preparing, knowing that these summer months are coming, and it's going to be brutal like it always is. But hey, you know, we're used to it on a certain level, and we kind of know how to deal with it. And so that makes it, I think, easier for us than it is for people who are only just moving here. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to set this up, let it dry, and maybe I'll end up showing you the results in this video. I'm not sure. Okay, so I am hopefully going to be able to fit all 4 of these trays in my freezers. And so these are already pretty dry, and from what I have seen, you don't necessarily have to be too careful about drying grapes like all in one layer. Same thing with like blueberries. With the skins still intact, they break apart pretty easily as long as they're not like super wet. And then it works out really well. If we were doing things like cut strawberries or more delicate, like sectioned berries, such as raspberries or blackberries, you would, if you want to maintain the look at least of the blackberries or the raspberries, you would freeze in a single layer. And then with the strawberries, if they're cut, then it's kind of like all bets are off. You have to freeze them in a single layer, or else you'll make a brick that you'll never get apart. So, but luckily with grapes, it's not as big of a deal. So I will just find a spot in my freezers and hopefully be able to fit all of them. And then I don't want to stack them, even though I'm like, you know, they won't stick too bad. It'll take longer to freeze the more you put together. So I don't like to do it much more than like 2 deep, you know, because I figure, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I sort of figure that the bottom ones will be still getting frozen and the top ones will be getting frozen, and then it sort of will meet in the middle, versus if I had like a giant pile, there would be ones in the middle that wouldn't be getting frozen for quite a while. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, yeah, top and bottom will be kind of in contact with freezing temperatures pretty much right away. So anyway, it seems like it works out. So like I said, I need to get these in the freezer. Okay, we've got all of these grapes that were left after the freezing are now processing into juice on the stove. And so these will get strained, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to freeze the juice and not can it. But we're gonna see how much I end up with. Hopefully this is not completely stupid, but I've never done a juice like this before. I have juiced large amounts of produce in the past, and just like with my juicer, and then frozen, but I've never done the cooking process like I'm doing with all of these. And so I'm just gonna strain it like this. You would think that having this guy upside down is better, but it's not, because this will have a tendency to start floating. So you need it like that so that it will get filled as you pour. And then this is just to keep this above the edge of the bowl so that I can easily pull it out if necessary. So we're going to see how well this works. Okay, there was definitely a lot of splashing, so probably doing it with a ladle would have been smarter. But overall, it looks like it's working out pretty well. This is not even close to all of the solids though. So I'm going to have to do this in batches, which is not surprising. It was a huge amount. But yeah, look, I got tons of splashing, and that bowl that I had just cleaned is now needing to get rinsed out again. So yeah, this project I'm learning many new things. This actually worked out pretty perfectly because I ended up having an extra bowl for pulp. And what was really handy was there were several grapes that weren't crushed all the way. I guess I just couldn't get to them in the pot when there was beginning to be so much juice. So once it was drier and most of the juice had drained out, I was able to then re-crush all of the grapes in the pot. So I'm just sort of doing it a little at a time And it does look like there's definitely a lot more left, but I'm trying to get this done at least to this first stage. And then I will drain any extra juice that I get just from leaving the pulp in the bowl. I'll drain that as well into the pile of juice. But I kind of need to get all of this ready. I'm going to rinse out the pot and put the juice that I've drained so far into the pot. It does still need to go through another straining, like through a nut milk bag. And so I will do that as well. But I need to leave to pick up my son pretty soon. So I need to get to my stopping point, which is just going to be to get this juice into the pot covered, letting it kind of cool for a while so that I can go ahead and complete the straining process after he is home. Huh. The drip line broke, apparently. Okay, I have fixed it to the best of my abilities, which are adequate at best. Adam is not going to be happy about this. He has had a lot of trouble with this drip system, and he's been talking about going through and redesigning it. But yeah. Anyway, it looks like it's holding for now. I am super excited. At this point though, I have an excuse to just sit at my desk and look out the window because I have to watch the drip system until the water goes off again to make sure none of the water is getting wasted. So that's pretty exciting. Okay, so the rest of the juice is going through the nut milk bag now, and it is almost completely finished straining, and then it'll just go back into the fridge, I guess, to further separate, but I'm not sure how much we care. But yeah, that's where we are now. Okay, here's 4 cups of carrots, dehydrated. I'm curious to see what the actual measurement is. All right, about a half cup. Let's see if that proves true for the rest of the trays. Gosh, so 4 trays was 16 cups, and it's a little over 1.5 cups, but definitely well under the 2 cup mark. It's crazy to me. Okay, I decided to go ahead and switch it all over to a pint jar. So that was well over 16 cups of frozen carrots, and it turned into less than 2 cups. Which is pretty awesome. Okay, let's check on the onions. Those are looking really dry, really done. So the rumors are true. You absolutely should dehydrate your onions outside of your regular living space. The smell was incredible. So we have our laundry room out here, and it wasn't just the smell. Walking out here to deal with loads of laundry, my nose was stinging, my eyes were watering. So the onion issue, like with cutting onion, was basically happening in the dehydration space. And even my husband, who has been having kind of an allergy attack and he can't smell anything, he was saying when he was coming out here, he didn't smell it, but his eyes were watering really bad in this space. So yes, definitely dehydrate your onions outside of your normal living space if you're going to be dehydrating onions. Okay, so I have a little trick for when stuff is like this, so you don't want to like have to spend the whole time trying to pick all that off. So you use some sort of scraping tool, like a little spatula would probably work too. And just sort of then it's maybe a little messy and it's not necessarily 100% perfect, but it's way easier, way faster than trying to do it all with your fingers. All right, this turned into just less than a quart of dehydrated onions, but of course, if I were to squash them more or whatever, they might fit into less space, but I don't think they would fit into a pint unless I like powdered them. But yeah, that's what we got. Okay, so just an update on the grapes. See, they don't stick together at all. But yeah, I need to get those bagged up and then I'll be totally done. All right, there is the juice that we have left at this point. So it is a bit cloudy, but it hasn't separated anymore. It was probably a few inches higher, but Adam and Sage have been drinking it and enjoying it. So, yep, that's how it turned out. Good stuff. Okay, so this turned into more like 4 days in my life, just with the busyness, with family arriving and all of that. So anyway, I got my projects done and I'm so happy. It's a serious, just like a weight lifted off of me to get that all finished. And now I'm thinking about that cauliflower. So anyway, it begins again. But as always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.